session dated December 10th, 2024. Would everybody please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I'd probably note that I moved the flag so we could all see it tonight. Could the clerk call the roll, please?
Commissioner Bullheis?
Here.
Branson?
Here.
DeBray?
Here.
Grote?
Here.
Camp?
Here.
Nitre?
Here.
Mayor Northrop?
Here. Now is a moment of silence. I believe the Commissioner Branson would like to discuss that tonight.
Thank you. I would like to have us remember our former city manager, Pauline Lubin, who was city manager a few years back. She got diagnosed with cancer and is beginning chemotherapy next week. So appreciate remembering her and her husband Stan in your prayers.
Moment of silence, please. Thank you. Now is the time for public comments. If you're not on the agenda, please step to the podium and speak. We try to limit this to 3 minutes, and I believe, Dave, you're going to introduce some of the public commenters here tonight.
Yeah, it's fun to have public comment, and I happen to know some folks that want to make public comment, so I'm going to ask them to go first. Lisa, Julie, and Kelsey, and we're starting with Lisa here. Thank you, Lisa.
Hi, my name is Lisa Dowdy. I live at 5539 Madison Ave. I'm here to make a public comment regarding the resolution proposed for the Parks and Rec plan. The current Parks and Recreation plan does not adequately reflect the priorities identified in the survey. On page 43, it is noted that respondents prioritize safety and connectivity, particularly safe crossings. The survey was conducted after the Chicago Drive crosswalk was implemented, yet the plan designates the safe crosswalk as a year 3 or year 4 initiative. The plan emphasizes development before ensuring necessary infrastructure is in place. While these developments aim to create gathering spaces and promote non-motorized transportation, they overlook the critical issue: how can residents safely access the spaces upon completion? The enhanced pedestrian crossing at Chicago Drive was ranked as the highest priority by survey respondents, yet it is treated as a low priority in this plan. This crosswalk is not only inadequate, but also extremely unsafe. As a resident, I know as I'm driving down Chicago Drive to look for those flashing lights, and while I'm driving, they are very hard to see. While the city has enacted an ordinance requiring vehicles to stop, many drivers on Chicago Drive remain unaware. I've often stood at the crosswalk with the lights flashing, waiting for traffic to stop, only to see vehicles continue through. Even when one car stops in one of the lanes, I have to cautiously enter the crosswalk and hope that a second lane car driving stops. And it further stops traffic and creates bigger delay in a sense. Pedestrian connectivity needs to be elevated from a long-term goal to an immediate priority, as residents have consistently requested. Infrastructure improvements such as better lighting systems like a hawk beacon would enhance safety and encourage residents to walk or bike to the planned amenities. Prioritizing safe pedestrian crossings now is essential for fostering the connectivity and accessibility this community needs and desires. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. And I just have to comment, just for edification, the city does not control Chicago Drive, and we went through a lot of hoops just to get that marginally effective safety crosswalk there. I don't think there's a person on the dais that would disagree with you. Ideally, we want to see an underpass so that people can pass underneath Chicago Drive, but we really have no say in the matter as much as we wish we could to better enhance that connectivity. But I don't think there's a person here on this dais that would disagree with you, and I appreciate the comments. And we'll be looking probably for some support from the public if we can go back to MDOT. And I guess, Julie, you're up? Oh,
Kelsey's
Kelsey.
Going last, Julie, huh?
Hi, my name is Kelsey Zotzman. I live at 3464 Van Buren. As Lisa mentioned, the residents of Hudsonville have made their concerns known, and we are here today to emphasize these voices. As a proud Hudsonville resident, mom of 3, child passenger safety technician, and pediatric nurse at Helen Boss Children's Hospital for over 14 years, I too feel as though the safety of crossing Chicago Drive is a huge concern and we must address immediately to the best of our ability. My family and I often cross Chicago Drive, and you'll frequently find us enjoying story time at the Terraceburg Farmers Market in the summer, grabbing dinner at Dorado's where our kids play at the splash pad, attending community events such as the Christmas Parade or Urban Heyday, or heading to my 3-year-old's favorite store, Gemmons, for some nuts and bolts and maybe a Matchbox car if he's lucky. My children know that we called Chicago Drive the scary road because of the speed at which cars drive on it and the lack of safe crossing. Though we appreciate the addition of the flashing lights, I agree that it is very unclear as to who should stop for who, and it's scary when one car stops while others do not. I've seen some cars stop and almost get rear-ended, all while I'm navigating my stroller with one arm and using my other arm as a human shield, holding back my other children from crossing the street until I know for certain that everyone sees us and it's safe to cross. My years of experience as a registered nurse have made me even more attuned to the dangers that unsafe street crossings pose. As a designated level 1 trauma center, we see the worst of the worst, and oftentimes those children are admitted to the pediatric ICU where I work. Children aren't as visible when crossing the road and are usually lower than the vehicle, which makes them more at risk for severe head injuries, versus an adult who might suffer a pelvic trauma or other middle body injury. For those serious head traumas, many of the children are left incapacitated, relying on medications or medical technology for the rest of their lives. That is, if they survive the initial incident. This happens more frequently in the summer months, which any nurse will tell you is trauma season. We have a very real threat to the safety of our community. However, we also have the opportunity to be proactive instead of reactive after a horrible incident. I hope you'll consider this plea from a local mother and nurse who deeply cares about the safety of not only her own children and patients, but of all those in this amazing community. Thank you.
I have a quick question.
Well put, Kim. Thank you.
Can you spell your first name for the minutes?
Sorry, Kelsey, K-E-L-S-E-Y.
Thank you.
So it's not Z-O-O-D-S-M-A.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Julie? Julie's also my neighbor.
It's true. My name is Julie Postis. I've lived in Hudsonville since 2012. I want to start by acknowledging the so many improvements I've seen since moving here and acknowledge the complexities of working with the infrastructure that does exist. Putting Chicago Drive right down the middle of the community has created a lot of ongoing challenges in creating a sense of place and connection. I'm grateful for the proactive measures such as the road diet on 32nd instead of creating the same problem there for future generations. However, as you can guess, I'm not here to only applaud your efforts. I would not be doing my job as an engaged and invested citizen if I did not challenge you to do even better and point out the areas that you are not being responsive to the needs of the wants of this community. In recent city surveys, residents answered very strongly that they desire a more safe way to cross Chicago Drive and that a connected community was one of the highest priorities, not just at Chicago Drive, but in some areas that we have a lot more control over. I can attest that this is also talked about very frequently in my neighborhood and comes up often as a concern and a barrier to enjoying the existing and the proposed amenities in the downtown area. I've talked with parents of high school students who would love to allow their children to walk the very short distance to the high school, but lament that there is not a safe way to do so. I've talked with neighbors about their hopes to attend community events or the farmers market, and then express frustration that it just makes no sense, or it makes more sense to drive there than attempt to walk or bike with young kids across Chicago Drive, and then through the complex, non-biker-friendly landscape of the current downtown sidewalks and parking areas. I challenge you to go for a bike ride with my kids through that area and try to direct them where to go. It's a mess. We have talked about our fears of the library moving across Chicago Drive and no longer being able to walk there with our children or allow our older kids to safely utilize the library independently. On a personal note, my own 6-year-old becomes tearful with panic whenever I mention going to the farmers market or events in Hudsonville. He begs me to drive there because he's fearful of the crossing on Chicago Drive at both the Balsam Chicago Drive intersections we've tried to do instead of the one by Terrace Square, and that one has actually been worse because nobody's looking for you when they're turning right. And who can blame him? Cars drive very quickly and close to us, mostly disregarding any signals. I'm grateful nothing terrible has happened yet, but I credit this to most residents just avoiding these crossings completely. Driving to these events feels so silly when it's so close and defeats the purpose of engaging with our own community, and sometimes leads us to just disengage instead, or we just drive elsewhere if we have to drive and get in the car anyways. I acknowledge the many real challenges to making this happen, but I question why it's not in the plan until 2028 when other things are taking priority. Our built environment shapes our habits and our lives. Build a beautiful downtown gathering space, but neglect to create safe, connected access to it for the very people it's intended to connect, and you'll get a place that everyone needs to drive to, where parking needs to be prioritized or it's just not used. Build places where it's delightful, safe, and feels natural to walk and pedestrian traffic will appear. Make it safe to bike and prioritize easy bike storage and bikers will appear. Side note, we've tried to bike to the farmer's market. The one bike parking area blocks the sidewalk if you park there and blocks the people selling anything there. It does not work very well. So it tells us that you really don't expect anyone to bike there. Build for the behavior that you're hoping your community will have and do it in the right order. Please do not, in essence, build a beautiful, well-designed home but neglect to put in the pipes or electric first, essentially making it unlivable into something that looks attractive on the surface. When Chicago Drive was expanded, I don't know if they thought about the lasting challenges that it would create for us now and the giant headache that it's creating for you guys to try to connect our community, but I do know that we have the opportunity now to be really intentional about how we build Hudsonville, and I just challenge you guys to go in the right order to create a thriving, healthy, and connected community.
Thank you, Julia. And here again, I don't think there's any disagreement from the dais. In a personal light, I would agree with everything and every observation the three of you made. The best we can do, and here again, MDOT owns that road, and we have virtually no say. The best we can do is that I'll make sure that Senator Victory and MDOT get an opportunity to view this videotape with you as mothers and community members have coming to us and bringing that concern. We have been trying for well over 10 years to get the underpass developed at Buttermilk Creek, which should allow for the best and safe passage for people from north to south. And here again, there's no dispute. Just understand that the audience and the people here don't disagree with you. We're fully on board. But we have to really figure out how politically we can put pressure on MDOT to come around and support us. The bridge there for Buttermilk, they won't let us do anything because it's considered a scouring hazard, and the bridge is old, but then again, it's not on the replacement either. So we struggle with, if there's an issue of the scouring there, then the bridge also needs to be replaced. But MDOT has been reluctant to even meet with us, to give you an idea. So we will forward these comments on to Senator Victory and on to MDOT, and I'll look to the city manager to manage that aspect of it. But he may be coming back to you because, when there's this kind of uproar in the community, people will begin to listen, hopefully. Having said that, are there other people that would like to speak to us that are not on the agenda? Please step forward. State your name, please.
Joseph Parnell McCarter, Georgetown Township, volunteer leader of the SaveTheCampbell.com effort. Michigan Public Service Commission, which regulates consumers' energy, has us on an unrealistic energy path. The plan to close and demolish in 2025 our county's Campbell plant, which provides reliable, affordable electric to 1 million regional residents as part of a broader effort to rapidly close all fossil fuel plants. Let me read what I have passed on to you in the handouts. If Michigan continues towards net zero emissions, it could lose reliable electricity, with a federal regulator and regional electric grid officials warning of substantial energy losses that could come within 8 years. Net zero energy plans in multiple states throughout Great Lakes region are moving residents and businesses toward a cascading power loss, wherein states seek to buy energy from neighboring states only to find those states have nothing to sell. That's according to a study of the Mackinac Center for Public Policy. Our regional grid operator, MISO, recommends delay in plant closures because of our electric grid is in danger because of these rapid closures. With Trump's new energy czar, Doug Burgum, seeking to keep fossil fuel plants open but using carbon sequestration, there's all the more reason to slow down this demolition schedule of 2025. Note there too on the handout how consumers' energy pricing is so much higher than alternatives like that of Zeeland. We are getting a bad deal not only in policy direction but also pricing. Residential customers are paying 58% more with consumers' energy than residents using Zeeland's cooperative. Decades ago, Zeeland stopped using consumers' energy and municipalized electric within its own local cooperative. It's an example of how Michigan law gives local government significant power over electric. As a first step towards addressing this, the town and county boards of Ottawa County need to request a delay in Campbell closure. We have solid legal ground for such delay because the law says even coal plants should not be closed if such closures endanger the grid. And Wolverine Power is already successful litigating consumers' energy on this topic. The second page of the handout given to you shows an example resolution to be passed by Ottawa County boards. Please join Jamestown Township, Bolton Township, and other county towns in sending a message to MPSC and Consumers Energy that we do not want the Campbell closed and demolished in 2025, but we need to keep it providing reliable electric for the 1 million regional residents. Thank you again for considering this request.
Thank you for sharing that with us. It's just a matter of policy. We do not do resolutions or proclamations in the City Commission, and we focus on city management. This would be an issue that really needs to be taken to the County Commission to be looked at and represent us in this issue. So just understand, we purposely do not get involved in local proclamations or resolutions because it's consuming and it's politically divisive for us. We focus predominantly on city management here. Anybody else choose to speak to the dais? Hearing none, Ryan Kilpatrick, my friend, is going to, I guess, have a short presentation. I've asked for you to come here because I want to learn more about what you're doing with the housing in particular.
Yeah, well, and thanks for asking. So I'm here on behalf of Housing Next. I run a small consulting firm that covers all of Michigan called Flywheel. Our goal is really to help local communities build momentum around housing and economic development. So I think many of you know Housing Next and the work that we do. I wanted to give you just a quick summary this evening. I can always come back and talk in more detail about anything I touch on. Jill, can I just ask you to, perfect, thank you. So really what we're working on is advancing local community policy to support housing growth. What we know is in Kent County, there's a need for about 35,000 housing units. In Ottawa County, almost 15,000 housing units. Combined between the two counties, we just about are straddling. It's almost 50,000 housing units. And that's just over the next handful of years. In just a minute, I'm going to get to a slide that talks about why we have that. Yes, perfect, thank you. So we're not just out here advocating for housing, but what we really want to do is think about community resilience. We want to have options for all ages, for all incomes. We want to have neighborhoods that people can grow old in, that they can raise families in, that they feel safe moving around in, not just by car, but also by bike or on foot. And there's so much work that the City of Hudsonville has already been doing and has completed and is in progress of working towards to do the kinds of things that we're advocating for across both Ottawa and Kent County. Really briefly, what we're seeing right now in the marketplace is roughly a quarter of households can afford the traditional single-family home on a large lot. And that's a really important product type. We need a lot more single-family homes on large lots. But we also have a segment of the population, almost a third, can afford new construction, but not single-family homes on large lots. What they tend to need are either attached housing opportunities, multifamily opportunities, townhomes, small cottages on small lots, a greater diversity of product type. But what we're seeing in the marketplace is that 97.2% of the land area is currently regulated to provide for only single-family homes on large lots. And as I said, those single-family homes are a really important product type and an important part of the overall mix, but we've skewed too far in one direction. So first I want to celebrate what you all have done around downtown Hudsonville, where you're creating opportunities for more housing choice, more housing variety, greater opportunities for different sizes and price points. That's all really critical. This is an illustration of building permits in Ottawa County since 1980, and what you'll see is there was a pretty big stretch of time from about 1994 until about 2005 when we had strong permitting across Ottawa County. We're down below about 60% of our peaks in the 1995 to 2005 period of time, and yet we have a population that is 33% larger. So our overall production is well below where it needs to be in order to keep up with demand, and generally there are two causes for that. You see where we really lost production in 2006, 2007. The reason for that, frankly, was the Great Recession, right? We lost all of the demand for new housing supply because we had a glut of new product in the marketplace that drove down prices. And starter homes just didn't make any sense to build in that market. So we stopped building starter homes for about 8 years. And most of the contractors who built starter homes left because they couldn't make a living doing it anymore when they were competition, older homes in the marketplace that were still selling for $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 for a nice 3-bedroom, 2-bath house. And so now that we're in this recovery, we haven't built up the labor supply or the contractor supply to come back and build those starter homes. But we do have some great developers that are building townhouses and multifamily, and we really failed to build that product for a long time as well. So what we're working on at Housing Next is ensuring that we're getting enough new starter homes in the pipeline, as well as enough non-traditional product like townhomes, condominiums. We're seeing a lot of older adults who want to age in place. They want to stay in their community and even sometimes in their neighborhood, but they don't have zero-step options that they can move into. They've got to leave their neighborhood. Sometimes they've got to leave their city or even their county in order to find something that they can age into. Go ahead to the next one, Joe. Thank you. The other important point, and I think you guys know this one well, the cost of infrastructure is astounding these days. It's about $1,300 per linear foot, according to the Road Commission. And so when we are adding the cost of sewer, water, and roads plus maintenance at $1,300 a linear foot, when we have communities that are requiring 100-foot minimum lot widths, that's a minimum $100,000 cost of land before we've even built the home. So just to serve it adequately with infrastructure, we're imposing a huge cost of infrastructure. But if what we do is think about only the single-family housing type, let me jump to the next one. This is kind of the traditional product we build a lot of, we're really good at. It's a great housing typology. Like I said, 25% of the market really wants this and can afford it. We need to keep building it, but as you can see, it primarily serves households today who are earning $125,000 and over. 10, 15, 20 years ago, it was pretty easy for a middle-income family to buy a brand new single-family house with 2,000 square feet and easily afford the mortgage. Now what we're seeing is you need 2 income earners, and together you've got to earn well over $120,000 to get into that kind of a product. Go ahead to the next one. Simultaneously, we can build new product that is very nice and is more cost effective. It can still be 3 beds, 2 baths and oriented towards families with kids. And it can consume a whole lot less infrastructure. It can consume a whole lot less land. This is the kind of product I know you're already planning for in downtown Hudsonville. And then the last one, and I think you've got a little bit of this planned for within your form-based code, is some of those missing middle housing typologies that can offer both homeownership and rental options in the same building, sometimes in the same neighborhood. These, when we allow these on existing infrastructure, they're even more cost-effective. Go ahead to the next one. So what we're out doing now is advocating for local communities to identify the places where they want to target growth. We fully recognize that not every neighborhood and not every community is able to allow this kind of growth because they don't have the infrastructure in place. And what we really want to do is keep rural places rural while we make our towns more vibrant, more lively, more opportunistic for folks of all ages and incomes. And so thinking about where are those neighborhoods where we can allow for different types of housing to provide both new tax revenue as well as new housing opportunities. Go ahead to the next one, Joe. And this is really about location, right? The old adage. And so thinking about when we're allowing for more growth, it should be close to amenities. It should be close to downtown, close to Terrace Square, close to the restaurants, right? So I know you guys get this and you've done a really great job of master planning and even zoning for these kinds of uses. But what I wanted to make sure of is that we're continuing to let you know that we're available to support. We've got a countywide revolving loan fund that can provide gap financing. We've got subject matter expertise in brownfield TIF and neighborhood enterprise zones and some of the other programs that can help to provide funding support. We've also got direct lines of communication with our partners at the UDC and MISHDA whenever you're thinking about financing. And so I think that you guys are doing a really outstanding job. I'm really just here to say both thank you and to let you know we still exist and we're out here doing this work. I've got more slides to share I can bring another time, but for this evening I just wanted to leave it there and thank you for your time.
Any questions for Ryan? I think you probably know, I think my count is, I think we have 9 ongoing developments going on in the city right now for housing. Predominantly high-density housing in the downtown. I think, Dan, we have 3 or 4 right now. I kind of lose track after a while. But it's predominantly high-density housing to support the workforce. This is nice housing. I tell people it's not subsidized housing. It's not cheap housing. It is good, affordable housing for the workforce that we need to grow the economy in Ottawa County. I would ask that we put your slides as part of the packet, and we make that part of the minutes, please. And also, Ryan, if you have some availability or your staff to come in and talk to the Planning Commission, you get a little more time. And I think it would be nice to really kind of get into some more of those details with the Planning Commission, because I think they would like to hear this too. Any other discussion? Jeremy, you're on the Planning Commission.
No, I'm good for now.
Okay. Thanks for your time coming, and we're partners. Thank you.
Thanks for the invitation.
Now it's the time for the consent agenda items. There are 3 City Commission regular session minutes dated November 12th, Downtown Development Authority meeting minutes dated November 6th, and Planning Commission meeting minutes dated November 20th. Are there any changes to those minutes? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those say no. Hearing none, the consent agenda items carry. Moving on to public hearings. The first public hearing on commercial rehab application for Terrace Station Ventures, LLC. Is there a motion?
Make a motion to approve resolution number 24-1803, approving the application of Terrace Station Ventures LLC for a commercial rehab exemption certificate for real property in the amount of $32,400,963 for a period of 10 years.
Second the motion.
It's been moved and supported. City Manager, you want to speak to this?
Mr. Mayor, as part of the purchase agreement with Venaclaus Development, we had approved a resolution that made note of this this financing opportunity for the project. Venaclaus Development has also taken advantage of brownfield redevelopment laws that were updated and signed by the governor in 2023. As such, along with funding, a grant from the MEDC, this is one of 3 primary external funding components to allow the project to reach fruition. The project is 141 residential developments and roughly 4,700 square feet of commercial space, which will be spanned over 12 buildings. Construction has started as of a little over a month, maybe 2 months ago, and we're excited for the applicant and Venaclaus and team to move forward with the development. That we look forward to making a positive and strong impact to our downtown area. As such, this resolution has been approved by the city attorney, which I'm going to turn over to her in a second, with some tweaks that came up late. But in front of you is the resolution to move forward as such. With that being said, I worked with City Attorney Jessica Wood today. Jessica, if you don't mind, will you speak to the changes to the resolution?
Sure. So there's just one tweak to the resolution that you have in front of you as opposed to the one that was in the packet. So upon just reviewing the numbers one more time, it was discovered that the taxable value of the property taken in an aggregate with all of the other outstanding certificates exceeds 5% of the taxable value within the unit. So that's fine, that's no big deal, except for that you have to make an additional finding if that is the case. So we added one additional finding to the resolution that you have in front of you. And specifically, the finding which has to be in the resolution, along with this statement, is that exceeding that 5% amount shall not have the effect of substantially impeding the operation of the unit, which is the city, or impairing the financial soundness of an affected taxing unit. So that's just language that comes right out of the statute. If you exceed that 5%, my understanding is that it barely exceeds the 5%, but just to be on the safe side, we should include that statement within your resolution today.
And Mr. Mayor, if I might add on, we bring this up, it was Andrew, roughly 6 months, 9 months ago, we started tracking all of our economic development incentives, where we can look at them individually and look at them wholesomely as all, to realize not only, and it's important to understand here, we're not losing tax revenue, right? We're not losing what we don't have. However, it allows that portion of the capture to be invested in a qualifying cost for the developers. One part of the tracking mechanism is we can realize when the certificate expires or the incentive expires to allow us to budget more appropriately of when X amount of dollars funding, depending on what the assessment rate is, as realized revenue. But equally what it does is it allows us to track the growth of the community and weigh in our municipal operations. This is important because we won't receive these revenues for X amount of times, or in this case, 10 years, which is the most common option the City Commission has taken advantage of previously. So one thing that myself and staff are working at is, can we still meet the high level of service that we provide in lieu of these realized tax dollars? And what we're looking at is public safety, public works, staffing. Where does the increase of new residents, the increase in businesses, or the impact of the development itself, where are there externalities, either positive or negative, that can impact our operation? So weighing those out, I believe not only can we still maintain that level of service that our residents and the City Commission has come to expect, but we are increasingly finding ways to add on to that, to get better than that in lieu of this revenue. So we have the tracking document. We'll bring that up at a work session, probably in Q1 of next year as just a good review. But with the state legislation, or the statute, excuse me, that Attorney Jessica Wood just reviewed, it's something that we're keeping in mind, that 5% number. Basically, we don't want to, in lieu of the taxes, have bills and operations be less than because of this. And at this time, with the utmost confidence, I don't believe that to be the case. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Any question for the city attorney, city manager? So this would, we expect expiration 2034 with 10 years, correct?
Yes, and then we have the brownfield part of the plan will kick in. Chris, is that 17 years total? 14, even better, thank you. 14 years, so that's when the brownfield plan will officially kick in.
And city treasurer, how much you have any kind of idea how much you think we might exceed 5%?
Yes. So when we include both the Act 198 and Public Act 210, we're at 7.76%. So when we just look at PA 210, it's slightly over the 5%, and then when we include both the 198 and 210, we're at 7.76.
Is that what we're seeing generally in these kind of developments right now? Do you know?
The full 10 years being granted?
At over 7%?
That's often the case, yes. We often have to add a finding to this effect. I can't say that they're near the 7% because they vary a lot, depending on what's outstanding, but that's not particularly unusual.
Yeah, we have worked with Chris for near 3 years, I think, haven't we, Chris? Did you want to choose to speak to us, Chris?
Hi, everybody. Chris Benacause with Benacause Development. Yeah, it's been a long road, but we're excited to be where we are, and just so happy for everyone's cooperation and help. It's obviously been an interesting journey as the market has changed on us, and interest rates and construction costs, and you've all been very helpful, and thankfully the governor has come up with some incentives to help us get there. Actually, Ryan Kirkpatrick played a role way at the very beginning, so it's just great to have a great team, and we're happy we're underway and excited for the next job.
Thank you, Chris. Nice.
To answer questions if anyone has any on the project.
Any questions for Chris? And nice you could be here, by the way. It says a lot about your commitment to the community.
Yeah,
and we are anxious.
Likewise.
And a ribbon cutting soon?
Next fall.
Okay.
Yeah, for the first building.
There's a motion on the floor. Any other discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Commissioner Grout?
Yes.
Franson?
Yes.
Volheis?
Yes.
DeVray?
Yes.
Camp?
Yes.
Nitre,
Yes.
Mayor Northrup.
Yes, motion carries. Thank you, Chris. Have a pleasant evening. Moving on to the public hearing on Parks and Rec Plan 2025 to 2029. Is there a motion?
Open the public hearing.
Dave, you're on the Park and Rec.
Gotcha. In the wording.
Sorry. Here you go.
Motion to approve Resolution 241804, adopting the City of Hudsonville Parks and Recreation Plan for 2025 to 2029 as a guideline for improving recreation for the residents of the City of Hudsonville.
Second that.
It's been moved and supported, and I will turn it over to you. Good to see you tonight. Thank you.
Absolutely. Good evening, everyone. For those of you that I don't know, my name is Chris Corey. I'm with McKenna. We are the consulting firm working on the Parks and Rec Plan, the master plan, and a zoning update simultaneously for you guys. And tonight we're here to talk about the Parks and Rec Plan. With me tonight is Paige Broder. She's going to take you through some of the details, but I'm going to start out with a little big picture, and I will be addressing the elephant in the room that was brought up earlier. We have an idea how we can at least orient the plan to address that concern. But first,
I don't know what's going on.
oh, okay. Is it backwards where you're looking at the presentation and we're looking at? Okay.
Yep.
Well, I think that we can see what's up there. Thanks, Joe. So, what is Parks and Recreation Plan, right? First and foremost, it is the directive document to your Parks and Rec Committee, your Department of Public Works, and others who advance the goal of improving recreation in the community, right? It is a very living document that it guides you over the next 5 years. It also has this state level impact where it makes you eligible for MDNR grants, which can of course help you implement your goals in this area. You must, in order to be eligible, update this plan every 5 years. Your current plan expires on February 1st, 2025. So we do have to have this adopted by this body so it can be submitted. But prior to that date, along with all the various supplementary materials they require, once that's done, you will have another 5 years, so through 2030 at this point, of eligibility for those grants, and you can continue to implement your priorities. So what's included in this document? The usual things you see in a planning document, right? Data analysis, community engagement information, the priorities of the community, followed by information that MDNR likes to see, like what do you budget for your parks and how do you administer your parks, how do you maintain them, that kind of thing. And then into the meat of the plan, which is what are we going to do with our parks and recreation facilities over the next 5 years. So let's get into that a little bit. As we get into the goals and objectives of the plan, and before I get too far into this, I'd like to address Chicago Drive. Chicago Drive, the crosswalk, our team agrees that is an extremely high priority, and with the point made during public comment that many of our other improvements are weakened by having that impediment to pedestrian and non-motorized mobility in your community. The reason that is designated for 2028 in the plan is because it was the determination of the Parks and Rec Committee that it's actually going to take that long to get through the process that Mayor Northrup and City Manager Dotson talked about of working with MDOT and working on the engineering challenges and getting together funding together and putting that all into a package that can actually get something built. It's probably not going to happen until 2028. Is that bad news? Yes. But if we start today, we can get there by then. Our suggestion as far as the document goes is that we acknowledge that reality better than this document currently does. Right now it just says 2028 as if we're waiting. We're not. In fact, I was just informed that there is a meeting on this topic between the city and MDOT next week. Implementation is ongoing as we speak. And we can edit the document to reflect that. Currently in the document, there are a couple of sort of ongoing priorities that we know are going to need work every single year in order to get where we want them to go. And they are the Nature Center and the Hughes Park baseball diamonds. What our suggestion is that we add Chicago Drive to that list. The list of we have to be working on this all the time to get where we want to go, even if it's 3-4 years from now. So that's our suggestion. Procedurally, something like that, an instruction to us can be included in your motion. even as we move forward to adoption. So I wanted to address that because it came up during public comment, and we very much agree with that concern. So other things that are in the plan. Sorry, Jill, let me go back one. Other things that are in the plan. The Village Green, another project that the city is working diligently, and another iterative implementation, right, where you have to do a lot of steps before it starts getting in the ground. Something we're working on very hard. Obviously, interconnectivity on Chicago Drive we just talked about, but there are other aspects of that as well. Extending the Buttermilk Trail, adding new parks in neighborhoods that don't have them, which is an interconnectivity issue. Other roads that need safe crosswalks, etc. We also looked at accessibility within the parks themselves for people with mobility challenges, which, by the way, also those mobility challenges apply to strollers. So this is a broad swath of communities that seek accessibility and how that can be improved. Next. Another couple aspects that we really talked about with Parks and Rec Committee, environmental education, using that nature center and continuing to enhance it and use it as an educational opportunity. And you also have other nature within your community, which is pretty cool for a city like Buttermilk Creek, and using those as opportunities. And then the last big picture goal in here is being unique. Having recreational amenities that your neighbors don't have to attract people into the community who will then spend money at your local businesses, who may want to move here one day because you have cool stuff. Some of this might be kind of experimental. You might try it out on a trial basis and see if it attracts people, and if it does, then you turn it into something permanent. So there's a number of ideas in the plan that regard that. At this point, I'm going to turn it over to Paige to walk through the year-by-year recommendations. Yes, and you could have this in front of you.
Hi, everyone. So yeah, I'm going to go over the action plan. So these come from the survey, but also directly from the goals and objectives. You'll kind of be able to tell that some of them fit into some of those. So for year one, just next year, some of the potential future improvements would be acquiring property for the Village Green, new amenities at the Buttermilk Creek Park, specifically the fishing structure that's already planned to be put in, the Buttermilk Trail extension from New Holland Street to Highland Drive, Hughes Park path improvements and expansion. There's an idea to create a more formal sledding hill at the water tower. And then both Hudsonville Nature Center and Hughes Park Baseball Diamonds have some ongoing improvements that we've outlined in the plan. For Hudsonville Nature Center, those are specifically the accessible parking at the Nature Center, the improved picnic area, and the Nature Center interpretive building. And then for the Baseball Diamond, that is just regular upkeep and maintenance. So then after that, 2026, Village Green development to be continued. The mountain biking trail development, that would be working on connections to the mountain biking trail that's in Jamestown. Building a temporary remote control vehicle race course. And then followed by those two ongoing improvements for the Nature Center and the Baseball Diamonds, and I guess now Chicago Drive as well. In 2027, some of the potential future improvements are beginning designs for new wayfinding signage, improving the pedestrian crossing along 32nd Avenue, more new amenities at Buttermilk Creek Park, these ones being the pathway and exercise stations, and then those Nature Center and Baseball Diamond improvements. In 2028, this is when we hope to break ground on the pedestrian crossing at Chicago Drive, followed by those other two ongoing improvements. And then lastly, 2029, pedestrian crossing at Balsam Drive, and then those two ongoing improvements. In terms of long-term action plan aspirations, those would be hopefully connecting Buttermilk or Sunrise Park through Buttermilk Trail, creating and funding a spot for a neighborhood park in the southeast quadrant of the city, replacing aging playground equipment at Sunrise Park, and improving pedestrian connectivity.
So what are our next steps in this process? We've had some public comment already tonight. We're here to take questions. If there are revisions you want to make, including the suggestion we made, we can hear those. Revisions that do not dramatically alter the substance of this document procedurally can happen in accordance with an adoption, right? Adoption with changes. So that is possible tonight if that's the council's desire. But at this point, we're ready to take questions and instructions. Thank you.
Commissioners, any questions or discussion?
Could you talk a little bit about how you would mention the ongoing process it is and the city's limitations and what it can do with the crossing, like how you'd address that in the document if we were to conditionally approve that?
Sure, absolutely. So as noted during public comment on page 45, yes, page 45, it talks in the goals and objectives section about the need for enhanced pedestrian safety crossing Chicago Drive, and maybe not in just one spot, but in general that's necessary, and that needs to be upgraded. And notes on that page that is the #1 priority for the community as reflected in the survey. So we would probably enhance that paragraph to talk about the pathway to implementation there. That MDOT has to be a partner because they literally own the road, so they have to be a partner there, as well as the engineering challenges with the bridge, Buttermilk Creek, the aging infrastructure, et cetera. Mention all of that. So we would do that on page 45. Then subsequently on pages 49 and 50, which are the description of the 5-year plan, we would add in each year, similar to how the Nature Center and Hughes Park are listed in every year, we would add the Chicago Drive pedestrian crossing progress in each year. And then finally, on page 51, actually it might be 52 in the end, but on 51 and 52 is where we currently have the Nature Center and Hughes Park sort of iterative long-term process that has to happen, or things that have to happen every year to reach our goal. We would then do that, a Chicago Drive section for that. What has to happen in each year to reach our goal of getting that thing built in 2028. So we would lay that out. I will say that this is, I would characterize this as a document oversight, a drafting oversight. All of this has been discussed and is understood and is, like I said, even underway. It's just not well described in this text. So it's not, so we can absolutely add this, efficiently.
So in other words, you see that's aligned with the process that got to drafting this document, the comments that we heard today.
Yes. In fact, the reason that is identified for 2028 is not because it's a low priority, but because that's a realistic year in which we could actually put shovels in the ground, given the impediments to get there. It's unfortunate, but certain things you could budget for as a city council and they happen months later. This, with the number of moving parts, we have to look at years.
Thank you.
Anything else? Do we have to modify the motion, or to identify that upgrade?
Wouldn't hurt to clarify.
To clarify that? And then I would ask for you to modify the motion.
Yeah, I'll walk my way through that.
Okay.
Do I need to withdraw the first one?
That's okay, you can just restate it.
Just roll with it. I love it. Motion to approve resolution number 24-1804, adopting the City of Hudsonville Parks and Recreation Plan for 2025 to 2029 as a guideline for improving recreation for the residents of the City of Hudsonville, with a modification surrounding the Chicago Drive crossing to further clarify the intent of the city to have that be an ongoing process.
Jack, you were the one that supported that. Would you support that change?
I support that.
The change has been moved and supported, so the motion's still on the floor. Anything else needs to be discussed with the commission? Just a couple quick questions for you, Phil, perhaps. First of all, McKenna's done a great job. You've been front and center for the last 8 months, I think, with us, getting survey results, talking to the public, several different forums. It hasn't gone unnoticed by those of us at the city hall, the staff and the residents. So I think this document really reflects where we want to be with the Park and Rec plan. And these become really valuable for us to qualify for grant work, as you well know. So to have this process is indicative of our future. The only thing, in terms, 10 years ago when I ran for mayor, one of the things I ran for mayor on was the connectivity and to improve the Chicago Drive crossing. And this is as near and dear to my heart longer than you've been a resident, Julie. So this is not something that just came out of thin blue air. There's a lot of history, and I would ask you maybe you sit down with Dan and look at the engineering. Nearly $250,000 was done on the engineering to support the underpass at the Buttermilk Creek, which is really the preferred location to create that connectivity, to have a safe underpass there. But we need to look to have MDOT as that partner to either redo the bridge or to help us understanding their scouring. Our engineers said we would enhance protection for scouring. MDOT disagreed with our engineer and said we would accelerate the scouring. So there was a disconnect between the engineers and MDOT. MDOT was not willing to work with us, quite frankly. But I think now we need to go back and readdress it because it's been on the table for so long. And we're going to look for your expertise there to help us advocate for that.
Thank you. First off, thank you for the kind words. And both this document and the master plan, which will come before you in a few months, in final form, are going to address this topic. And I think that particular engineering issue and disagreement should be covered in the master plan in its non-motorized section. We can dedicate an entire mini section to that. That's both this document and that will also advocate for Buttermilk Creek as the first priority. We also think there should be efforts towards a crossing further west as well, maybe as a second priority. But we can make sure that is clearly advocated for in both this document and in the master plan.
Good, thank you. Any other discussion? Hearing none, there's a motion on the floor. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Nitre?
Yes.
Grote?
Yes.
Bullheis?
Yes.
Branson?
Yes.
DeVray?
Yes.
Camp?
Yes.
Mayor Northrup?
Yes, motion carries. Thank you, Phil. Thank you, Paige. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Council.
Moving on to public safety. The fire department is up. Good evening, Chief.
Submitted a report for the month of November. Our calls were down. We had a busy October, as Deputy Chief Moore reported last month, but November kind of tapered down to 46 calls for service. So that brings our annual total to 678. So that's, we've now passed last year's total of 656. And as of today, I think all the guys are all on a call now, so we're probably 705-ish, right in that range, so it's been busy. A couple calls of note there for the parade. We went on a call where a semi-truck struck the subway building on Corporate Grove. And then later that night, we had another pickup truck that hit the Velocity Nutrition building over in the plaza, so we checked that out as well. Fire truck update. Mark Onstrom and I went down to Spencer this morning and did a pre-construction meeting. Everything is on schedule there. Took about 5 hours to go through the whole bid spec, so things are moving along there. Really don't have any firm dates yet, but tentatively chassis probably a year from now, and then the truck will be complete first or second quarter of 26. So things are looking good there. Personnel, you can see that we had one cadet step away, and then we have interviewed another candidate for the position of cadet. So he is now working through pre-employment. So working on that. Any questions?
Anything for the chief from the dais? Thank you, Steve. Keep up the good work, and I applaud the continuing efforts to bring cadets into the system and feed that pipeline. If the cadets don't end up working here, they'll probably end up working in another municipality that desperately needs them too. So don't think that we just have to own them here in Hudsonville. we're adding value to the community at large. So thank you very much for your professionalism.
Thank you.
Next up would be the sergeant. Good evening. And you will be here next month, you said, right?
I got one more meeting.
One more meeting, okay.
You can give me a hard time if you'd like. So, yeah, the chief said his numbers were not ours were too. I think last month was one of our busier months ever, and this month was more normal. Traffic contacts were up. Deputy Tuttle was number 1 on the list again for traffic contacts in the entire county. So, we're very grateful to have him here in this productivity. So he's doing a great job. We had a great time at the parade. The chief and I lit it up pretty good, and we had a fun time doing it. It was a great success and much safer than last year, so we're happy to be part of that as well. Next week, all of the deputies are getting body cams, so it's going to be a big learning curve for us, getting used to those, all these different apps that we have to have in our phones now, and just trying to figure all that out. So you see us fumbling around with them, we're getting there, we're learning. Last week we started shopping the hero throughout the county. Last week was Jenison, tonight was Grand Haven, and tomorrow night we have Hudsonville. So I will be participating with the chief tomorrow night at Meyer. We'll have about 50 kids that we get to shop with and provide them with $100 worth of gift cards to purchase those gifts. So it's always a great time, and we wrap all the presents and send them home with something to put underneath the tree. So it's a good thing. A couple other things. Over the last year and a half, I've been involved with online reporting. So some other agencies do this a lot. It's a big time saver. A lot of people call 911 to report a fraud, and all they need is a complaint number. Or my Verizon phone is missing, and I need a complaint number. So they call 911. Deputy has to drive to the home or drive to the office, make the phone call, spend lots of time, write a report. So we've been slowly working through the process of what calls we can send to online reporting, and we are going to be expanding that here shortly to many other types of calls. So I think that's a really good thing for using our time more wisely. If somebody's calling because they received a suspicious phone call 3 weeks ago, they want a report, they can go ahead and file a report that way, so a deputy doesn't have to drive to the house, so we can take up that extra time to do that. So a lot of things are going well. Also, the speed signs that were on 32nd. I got the 85th percentiles for both of those. One of those was 35 for the 85th percentile, the other one was 38 for the 85th percentile from the stats. About 10,000 cars each direction each day. So 32nd is a busy road diet, new intersection, great. So we're pretty happy with where that's at as well. And if you look at the report, that's the new format that Sheriff-elect is wanting us to use. So the new format for our report that we submit for monthlies is going to continue that. Any questions?
Any questions for Jeff?
Okay, you said 35 to 38 for 32nd, correct?
Correct.
Now, did you differentiate between Barry and Chicago Drive and Barry and New Holland?
The speed signs were on 32nd in front of the high school. So those speed signs were up
So
for
it
the
was the
summer.
four-way,
So it's cars going northbound and it's cars going southbound on 32nd.
but 2 in each direction?
Yes. So that's where that's coming from.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I was talking to Jeff just before the meeting and talking about the Berry Street dead end where the light used to be. And I don't know if anybody else has noticed, but it looked like maybe more than one car has driven over the curb, through the soil or whatever where the grass is going to be growing and everything. So my question was, do we put up some type of barrier or sign there, with all of your high-speed chases through the neighborhood?
So it's something I think will be in the works for that.
So maybe to just put a note down and look at that. I don't know if something should be done, but at least, if people are used to going that way, if there's something that says, hey, don't go here, might be a good thing.
Like an evergreen.
That might not hurt either.
Massive
Concrete
boulders,
never hurts.
big rocks.
Road end signs.
Well, we don't want people to get hurt, though. That's, if they do run it, we don't want them.
Equally, we don't want them going in ongoing traffic.
That's true, too.
Yeah.
So
So-
find the balance, please.
I am walking to work as of yesterday, and I walked by that, and after conversation with staff, I did do a little chuckle, but immediately went to the discussion that you're all having now. I'll get with Bob and team on Monday after our department head meeting, and it'll be one of a handful of areas where we'll look to nickel and dime and change things, but I want to see what we can do in the short term for this, but equally put forth a long-term strategy as well. I will add on to that we'll need to work with the schools and the sheriff's department. The sidewalk tees in, and, you know, that's dangerous. I don't cross in the middle of the road when I'm walking home either. We need to utilize the crosswalks, and for high school students, I know it's a little bit of a quicker route, but what can we do to get them just to turn right a little bit and go down the crosswalk from Berry Street to the other section? So there's a handful of things that we're looking at nickel and dime. There's some more short-term than long-term and vice versa, but we got to do something. So we'll put our heads together and report back.
Jeff, can I ask, what is the source of the Shop with Heroes? What's the income? Is it charity? Is it Meyer donates that?
Meyer donates it,
All of it?
every dime, unless we go over $100.
So it's $100 a kid, and you got 50 kids?
Kids.
Wow.
It's at each Meyer location, so they're very generous to our community, they're a great partner of ours, and we really appreciate them, so, yeah.
One of the reasons why we all kind of shop there, I think. Very good. Thank you, Jeff. Dave, good evening.
All right, good evening. A couple of things I'd like to highlight on the report. First, the holiday parade. Yes, it went much better than last year. From a traffic standpoint, not perfect, but nothing ever is. But we've already identified among my team a few things we'll do differently. Probably help people, motorists understand that driving around a barricade doesn't mean you're actually going to get where you're going to go. And so we'll try and work with that to help people realize what they can and can't do. But anyway, overall, it went well, but looking forward to better next year. The other thing, department staffing there. I mentioned that an offer was extended to somebody. She has accepted that offer, so with some great news there. We are targeting a beginning of January start date. She'll be at my first department meeting in January. So have our team back up to our full capacity again. And this is somebody who has experience volunteering with the county. And I've seen her direct traffic many times, so I think she'll work out well. Any questions?
Anything from the commissioners? Hearing none, thank you, Dave. Good job at the parade, by the way. Thank you.
Thank you. Pass that back to you.
Moving on to the finance, city treasurer's monthly reports. You're up, Andrew.
Good evening, everyone. Submitted as my report. I don't have a terrible lot to say this month. We had a couple maturities that gave us more interest this month, so we had $64,000 in interest for the 5 months year to date. We're at $252,000 in interest, so can brag about that for a little bit longer until interest rates continue to go down, but we'll brag about it while we can, so that's good. And then that's about it. I don't have many other things. Open to questions, comments, concerns, but it's going well.
$64,000 in a month is a lot of nice kicker for the general fund, isn't it there, city manager?
What was the breakdown of that?
So that's across all funds. I have it for general fund. Just
Either way, it's great cheddar to have.
Yeah, so 114,000 of that was for general fund.
It just seems like 2 years ago, it was 1,000 or 2,000 that we were just struggling to get with Kayla, and how the world changed in a couple of years. I mean, you're over there, you remember, right? How I'd think, we have this money, we're making a dime. Remember those days? They're not that long ago. So, good job managing those opportunities for interest. Any questions for the city treasurer? Hearing none, Ask for motion to pay the bills.
Make a motion to confirm the payment of the bills in the amount of $838,120.62 and to confirm payment of bills paid between meetings and reviewed by the Finance Committee.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any other discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Commissioner DeBrey,
Yes.
Branson,
Yes.
Bullheis,
Yes.
Grote,
Yes.
Camp,
Yes.
Nitre,
Yes.
Mayor Northrop.
Yes, motion carries. Moving on to ACH funds distribution. Is there a motion?
Make a motion to confirm the funds distributed via automated clearinghouse in the amount of $128,057.26, which are distributed between meetings and reviewed by the city manager.
Support.
So moving and supported. Any discussion on ACH funds distribution? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Commissioner Branson,
Yes.
DeBrey, Bullheis,
Yes.
Grote,
Yes.
Camp,
Yes.
Nitre,
Yes.
Mayor Northrop.
Yes, motion carries. Let's just go back quickly to grant tracking. Anything you want to discuss there, city manager?
No update, other than Mary Cook and the library, along with new economic development, Jacob Begard, are working on a library grant, and really impressed with staff's efforts here, getting the necessary quotes, asking the tough questions. We had a meeting last week, we were stuck on something, and collaboratively we were able to figure it out. So we'll look forward to grant submission for this program. And what it entails in a nutshell is helping out folks that may, I don't want to use the term struggle, but struggle with various challenges to allow them to better experience our library. From the size of seats to hearing devices to technology will allow folks with hearing aids to be able to Bluetooth in to a presentation to be able to hear it better. These are things that we often don't understand are challenges for folks, and this grant will allow us to meet the needs of that portion of our community. So I'm excited about our upcoming grant submission, and I want to give kudos to Mary and Jacob for that. So we'll be moving forward.
So what, is that one on the list here?
Kendra, is that added yet?
Not yet. It hasn't been submitted
Yeah,
yet.
we
So,
haven't formally-
yeah, so once we submit it, we'll add it
How
to
much
the
was it,
list.
10 or 20,000?
So it's it's up to 20,000, and there's a 10,000
Yeah.
option too. So we worked together to figure out how we can put our best foot forward for the 20,000. If that didn't work out, what can we do to secure the 10,000? And if we get the 10,000, Mary and I worked on how to scale that down, and perhaps at a later date come to the city commission for additional funds to get us over the hump for what we need.
Very good, thank you. Any other discussion on the finance items? Moving on to appointment to boards and commissions. Is there a motion for this Terrace Square Advisory Board?
Make a motion to approve the mayor's appointments to boards and commissions as listed. Terrace Square Advisory Board, Ron Foster, with a term ending 12/31/27. Support.
So moved and supported. I spoke both to Jack and to Dan a couple weeks ago. Ron Foster's been quite an addition to the Terrace Square Board. I did speak to him briefly, and he enjoys serving with both you immensely, and we look forward to having him retain his membership of the board. Is this a roll call or a voice?
Voice.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say no. Motion carries. And who will call Ron? Will you take care of that? Okay. Thank you very much. Moving on to administrative. 2025 proposed meeting dates. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to adopt the 2025 City Commission meeting schedule as presented.
Second motion.
It's been moved and supported. Any discussion there, clerk? We have no conflicts with election nights?
Let me double check. No. Well, I heard something at Clerk Education Day last week that there might be a May election, but that would be after.
So will that conflict with any of our dates? Okay. Very well. The motion's on the floor. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Motion carries. Moving on to the Department of Public Works. Is there a motion for recommendation to purchase a new dump truck?
I'll make a motion to authorize the Department of Public Works to purchase an international model HV507 upfitted as described above and on the attached quotes for a total price of $197,935.09.
Second the motion.
It's been moved and supported. I see the, Mark, our famous mechanic, is going to speak to us about spending this small amount.
Yeah, so this truck purchase is in the capital improvement plan, already be purchased in the 25-26 year. Moving forward with it right now gets us in line to be able to purchase, to say we're gonna purchase this truck right now. Build date, if we order the truck tomorrow, this truck will not be built, the cabin chassis will not be built till at least October. So that's how far behind they are in the industry right now. Once the truck and chassis is built and delivered to Truck and Trailer Specialties, they'll upfit it with all of our dump box, our underbelly blade, salt control, and whatnot. So it's probably going to be midwinter, kind of similar to what we did with the last dump truck, but it worked out well. Able to test them out, get the bugs out in the beginning of the first winter, and then the second winter we're good to go with the truck. One thing different on this one from the last one we purchased, our slip-in salters that we put in the back of the trucks, I run those 20 years, so basically every other dump truck will have to buy a slip-in salter. So the one we have now, with not having to purchase a slip-in salter for this one, will save us close to $30,000.
Any question for Mark? What, the old truck is good for this season?
Yes, the old truck's good. I have no issues with that truck at all.
Then what will happen with it when we get the new truck?
So what we did with the last one was we sent that one to auction. I think we got around the range of $50,000 out of that one.
Oh, we did? We got that much?
Yeah,
Wow.
that one really shocked me. That was a non-emissions truck. The one we will be selling does have emissions on it, so it's not exactly highly sought after. But we tried a different company the last time when we auctioned it, and we had very good success running it through that company.
So City Treasurer, what happens when we sell a vehicle and it comes back to the general fund then?
No, it would go back to the equipment fund.
Back to the equipment fund?
Yes,
okay.
to pay for future equipment.
Good. Any questions for Mark? Thank you, Mark. Good to see you here. I'm sorry I kept you so late. There's a motion on the floor. Any other discussion?
I'd just like to mention, this was under the My Deal contract, so that's the purchase. It was pre-negotiated through Michigan's My Deal.
Ah, good.
The truck purchase and outfit and contract.
And Mr. Mayor, if I may add one thought. I appreciate, Mark and Bob, thanks for bringing this to our attention now with understanding the lead time. With that being said, we are, do we vote on this yet?
No.
Just to make clear, prior to you vote, that once we have the intent to do this, to move forward, it's something that will be budgeted for in the next fiscal year, because we'll pay upon delivery, in which case this is an item that we are committing to purchase and will be part of the budget. So I just remind you all that while not budgeting now, we don't need to in this fiscal year, we will need to in the next fiscal year, and as such, I highly recommend that staff will put it in the draft budget, but we will look for approval, most especially on this one item, because we are committing to it. So just a reminder.
Is the price set, the $197,935, is it,
We'll be locked in.
that's fully locked in? We don't need any wiggle there at all, huh?
I don't believe so.
Motion's on the floor. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner DeVray?
Yes.
Branson?
Yes.
Bullheis?
Yes.
Grote?
Yes.
Camp?
Yes.
Nitre?
Yes.
Mayor Northrup?
Yes, motion carries. Good job, Mark. Thank you. Now I guess we get to talk about a mowing contract. Is there a recommendation to award the mowing contract, please?
I'll make a motion to award contract for 2025 mowing season to Augusta Lawn Care Services for mowing, fertilization, and weed control per the attached RFP in the amount of $110,312.56.
Support.
You're not going to get off light, Bob.
You want to get out a little earlier, but we've been working with Augusta since about 2022. I think we have a good relationship with them. We've been really happy with their service. I think in the memo it talks, we last bid this out competitively in 2022. You know, at that time we had bids come back between about $70,000 and $180,000. So at the proposed extension cost right now of about $110,000, we're still pretty well below the median range. And I think the $110,000 is just less than 3% increase over last year. So kind of in the service construction landscaping industry, a 3% rise over previous year, I think is very reasonable, particularly considering the cost it would bear on our staff to kind of start from scratch. But I like the guys, they're local, they're Allendale, and City of Hudsonville is kind of like their flagship account right now, so they take a lot of pride in the work. They've been easy to work with, and I'd like to keep them on for another year.
Any other discussion for Bob? Bob, just one question. Does this include all the ball fields at Hughes Park?
It does.
So all the fertilization, all the cutting?
Yep, 2 mows a week, I think 3 fertilization applications at each of them, and pesticide fertilization treatment.
What about the infield and the dirt and all that? Is that, do we do any of that, or is that done all by the?
We do some grading, we did some additions and some improvements. We pulled out some open field dirt last year, but that was all our staff and separate from this cost.
Tyler and I had breakfast this week with a couple people from Hudsonville Public Schools, Superintendent Doug. One of the questions he asked us, if the share on the pay with the ball fields has been more appropriate in the last year with the work you've done on that co-share with the payment.
More appropriate, yes. Probably not where we'd like to see it, not where we're working towards.
So that's something we need to put on our action items going forward. We still need to hone that down a little bit more.
I think so. In the little bit that I've been able to talk to Doug, I think we're on the same page in the direction we want to go.
Okay. That's a separate issue. The motion's on the floor to award the mowing contract. Any other discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Commissioner Grote,
Yes.
DeVray,
Yes.
Bullheis,
Yes.
Branson,
Yes.
Camp,
Yes.
Nitre,
Yes.
Mayor Northrup.
Yes, motion carries. Let's go to the city manager's report. You're up.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First and foremost, it's been a topic of discussion tonight, which I greatly appreciate it. And ladies, I thank you for coming. This is on our radar, and it is a big deal. And it's something that we're going to look to step up. But without folks coming in and expressing concern or sharing that with us, I don't claim that myself, city staff, and not to speak for the city commission, but we don't know it all. So we really rely on residents to help us out. And where there's an issue, we want to hear about it. Our goal is to provide the best level of services possible. So I appreciate you coming and speaking to this issue, because it really helps move the needle from staffing and from a policy position, where now we can go in front of state agencies and say, our residents are speaking and this is a concern. And it's very well documented. So I applaud you and thank you for coming this evening. With that being said, and it was mentioned, we do have an MDOT, a meeting scheduled with MDOT with regards to a Chicago Drive underpass on December 19th. It's a new attempt to re-engage with MDOT on making this a priority to not only increase safety measures, but our commitment to non-motorized travel, which, by the way, reduces the number of parking spaces we need and saves a lot of money in asphalt. So there's a financial gain here. Clearly, safety is our primary concern, though. But equally, from an economic standpoint, connecting the north and the south sides of town to take advantage of the library, regardless of where it's located at. The Terrace Square, our events, back and forth. There's an economic benefit to this, and something that MDOT in the last 10 years or so has actually started listening and implementing in the decision-making process. It is a costly project. To just give everyone an update, 5 or 6 months ago, our engineer did touch base with MDOT with regards to where that bridge is on MDOT's capital improvements plan for replacement. At that time, it was not on the 5-year plan, and it really wasn't mentioned in terms of a period longer than that. However, when we talk about safety, we talk about the growth of town, non-motorized transportation, connectivity, these are all ways where maybe we can sheet that up somehow, some way. And I stand directly alongside the mayor and leaning on our elected officials to put forth the benefit that this is. It's not 1 bullet point, 2 bullet points. It's 3, 4, 5 bullet points. So as Chris Corey from McKenna mentioned, it is going to be a slow-moving process. But The city has started. It's time to re-engage formally, start leaning on our elected officials and making this priority. Because I would argue that the true success of the community, in part, is dependent on getting this to the finish line. So it's something that we are taking seriously, and I look forward to that meeting. As mentioned, we had a great showing at the holiday parade with roughly 70 entrants, great turnout from local residents. I could not be more proud of Jeff in the Sheriff's Department, Steve with the Fire Department, Bob, Public Works, Lindsay and her team, Dave Dahl and his team. The collaboration that we have here to enhance these events is textbook of what we want to see from our leadership. So kudos to you all, and I look forward to seeing where we go from here. Brunch with Santa at Terrace Square was a new event this year. Want to appreciate our Terrace Square staff team. Over 100 attendees got to enjoy a delicious breakfast, various activities, an opportunity to meet the Santa Claus and the Mrs. Claus that were there and take a picture. Terrace Square was decorated beautifully, and I look forward to working with staff to enhance that event after this first go-around. Just a heads up that Andrew Smith and I will, Andrew will be bringing forth budget amendments at your January 14th meeting. Andrew and I will connect over the holidays to review these, and equally, we're going to look at cash flow of our major and local street funds to see in Q1 and Q2 or Q3 and Q4 of our fiscal year what more we can do depending on cash flow. We hear the city commission and the residents loud and clear about addressing our road challenges, so we'll look to have a preliminary discussion and bring that to you most likely in February or March where appropriate. But if we can sneak in another project this summer in the current fiscal year, it's our intent to do so. One of the projects, as stated on the CIP, would be the eastmost portion of Berry Street, which has been on the capital improvements plan for some time. So no promises, but we're going to reevaluate where we're at and see what we can't pull off yet this fiscal year. Just a reminder to the City Commission that we do have a strategic plan update/refresh on March 8th. You all should have received that calendar invite. Department heads and the City Commission will get together for a handful of hours to discuss where we were, where we're at, and where we want to go next as it relates to the 2022 to 27 strategic plan. At that time, we'll talk about maybe when it would be appropriate to engage on another strategic planning session, but excited to get everyone in one room, especially with myself, some newer staff members, newer commissioner, to do a deep dive and get into that plan where we can spell it out of what we want to do in the next year to 2-year period before we look for a formal update to the strategic plan. As of right now, and Andrew and I have to confirm this, but we're planning on having the audit presentation for fiscal year 23-24 at your January 14th meeting. We received the draft document of that today, I believe, Andrew.
Yes.
Andrew dove into it initially a little bit. So far, it's thumbs up, but Andrew and I will get together prior to budget amendments if we have any questions with the auditor, but plan on the audit presentation being delivered to the City Commission on January 14th. Water bond update. We received an update from Pat Stastevich from Ottawa County on December 5th with regards to the Wyoming Water Supply System Improvements Project. Ron Bolsche of Dickinson Wright was representing a handful of municipalities and worked with Jessica here to have Ron represent the city's interest as part of that too. Ron and Jessica had some great comments that they brought forth to work with Ottawa County. And as such, right now we're planning on to have Pat in here for a presentation and bring forth an opportunity for action as part of that agreement at your January 14th meeting.
Make sure we get plenty of opportunity to review that beforehand, please.
Yep. I believe I have the final materials of December 5th. Andrew, Bob, and I will review those this week and send those to you well in advance for any questions. So we'll have more information. We got that late on Thursday. We haven't had an opportunity to dive in yet, but we'll make sure we get that information. Hopefully, Andrew and Bob, prior to the holidays, so the City Commission can dissect that, why they are stomaching Christmas dinner, and provide questions to Pat and or Ron prior to the January 14th meeting. And then second to last, I've had a series of very good meetings with Bob and Don with regards to various construction projects and timelines. I'm going to say these, it is in its draft form of where we're at. The project year and the fiscal year overlap in the summer. So I'm going to suggest as part of these will be targeted projects as part of the budget. Some of them are existing projects we have appropriated funds for in this current fiscal year. We did receive some great news. We were able to find some additional funding from federal dollars for local agency projects on the tune of $238,000, where it's looking like we'll be able to move forward for a resurfacing of 32nd Avenue from Berry Street and New Holland. As of right now, we're planning on to use those funds to complete this work sometime in the summer of '25. Dan, is that a 70-30 or 80-20 split on that? Bob, is it 50-50?
The LAP was a flat amount.
Okay.
So our city's obligation will be whatever the project cost will be.
Sounds good. And so as part of getting together with Andrew, we're looking at an anticipated construction cost of $425,000, which 425 minus 238, that was not budgeted for. However, in talking with Bob, we have some ideas of where we can just shift some projects naturally, where we can come up to realize this funding that must be obligated and or spent by the end of the state's fiscal year, which is in October. And so we came out of this funding about 3 weeks ago. Happy to get to announce it to y'all, but we want to find the money to $238,000 that we don't want to leave on the table. I've authorized the engineer to work on design engineering to replace the Highland Lift Station. This is on the CIP and budgeted for fiscal year '25 and '26. This has been pushed back, but this is one that Bob and I agree that we want to get to the finish line. We're hoping to have design engineering completed by April 1st. The city received an MDOT TETF Category B grant for a little over $200,000 a couple months ago. We are working on the engineering with that now, and we're expecting to go to bid sometime this winter with project completion of that in summer of '25. On the CIP and funding that has been provided through the Grand Valley Metro Council, we are hoping to tackle 40th Avenue from Grant to Chicago Drive, which is the stretch just south of the fairgrounds. The road's in rough shape. There was talk about doing that this year, but with the way that we're repurposing funds, finding funding for this year, we're going to look to get that done in spring or summer of '26 and take advantage of the funding from the Grand Valley Metro Council. Equally, Highland Drive reconstruction, Grand Valley Metro Council funding, it's an 80-20 split. We're looking for construction in spring or summer of '26. The school app parking lot, design engineering is 98% complete. We're looking for a completion date of that by June 1st, 2024. And that will be a DDA-led project. I will need to come back to the City Commission and request additional funds once I get some final numbers, once we go to bid and see what that looks like. But it's going to be roughly 41 parking spaces. Even better, 43. Right now, we're planning on 2 electric vehicle charging stations as well as some ADA, some handicap parking spots as well. There'll be a wrought iron fence. We'll have some street lights with electric down at the base to allow for activation of that parking lot down the line, where we might be a food truck rally. It could be anything, but parking lots are more than just for a place to park cars. So looking forward to getting that done and help out with Terrace Square, with our programming downtown. I know the downtown business is looking for it, but we're looking for the 2-month project to be completed by June 1st. So we'll be bringing it forth to the DDA and City Commission where appropriate this winter. We have a handful of water main projects slated, relatively smaller in size in the next couple of years. Once we get more information, we'll bring those forth. I mentioned Berry Street and trying to squeeze that in sometime. I need more time on that, but that is on the radar. We've had a couple folks come in and mention this has been on the CIP, but we'll look and see cash flow, what we can do there. We're looking to close out the Buttermilk Creek bathroom project with the MDNR. We should be getting a check from the DNR sometime in the next few weeks. Outside of that, we're working on the Elmwood Commerce Center pathway, Hughes Park connecting path, Harvey Street brick repair, and aforementioned water main perk that we hope to get done this year. So again, Harvey Street brick repair, Hughes Park connecting path, and the Elmwood Commerce pathway. Staff is in various parts in that of getting that done. Equally, the Summer Green Park Fishing Pier is something that we are working on, as well as had a great meeting with Commissioner Nitre. He was wearing a different hat then. He was wearing a hat from the Outdoor Discovery Center, and we're working with our engineers to get applicable public cost on that project and work as a good partner with the ODC on realizing the fruition of them bringing the Outdoor Discovery Center to the city of Hudsonville. Finally, private projects, Prospect Flats, Terrace Stations. The Planning Commission will look next week, Wednesday, to potentially approve a site plan for landings at Rush Creek, which is the property behind Signatures. That is every bit being worked on by staff and the developer every day, so hopefully we'll have an announcement coming through with that shortly. And then finally, a brag point. It's humbling. It feels my ego a little bit, but anytime I'm outside of the city limits, or I have a call from colleagues, or in this case, a call from a recent mayor of a community south of us talking about all the exciting things that we're doing in Hudsonville, and they're asking, how'd you do that? How'd you go about it? They're calling, they're picking our brains, they're picking, our staff's brains, and it is just something that is very awesome to be a part of, along with you all up here and our department heads and our staff, and doing some really neat things, not only in the county, but in West Michigan. And more often than not, I'm getting feedback from individuals talking about Hudsonville. And so I just want to say that I am humbled by the opportunity to continue to serve this community, work alongside our dedicated professionals and you all. But we're doing good things, and it's being seen, and it's very exciting. So that'll be my final statement of the night, unless there's any questions.
You didn't announce there's a joint meeting next week?
Ooh, thank you. Yep, we have a joint meeting next week as part of our Redevelopment Ready Communities criteria. That meeting is scheduled for next Monday between the City Commission, the Planning Commission, and the DDA at 7 p.m.
6 p.m.
6 p.m.?
I have it down as 7.
I thought it was 6.
We will confirm that and get back to everybody.
You get 7?
I have 7.
7. So
Okay. Is it 7?
Yeah, just
All right.
confirm it.
Okay.
7 p.m. on Monday. We had a steering committee meeting today with the master plan, and we're coming up with some cool concepts, and we look forward to sharing and receiving input from all of you. So thank you for the reminder there, Mr. Mayor.
And my understanding, you're going to be taking some time off and attending a conference?
Yeah, so I'll be attending the Michigan Municipal Executives Conference the last week of January in Bay City. And this one is a conference dedicating towards municipal leaders. Frankly, it's the most valuable conference for me personally and professionally, as I attend all year. So got a handful of colleagues going, and looking forward to bring some great ideas back to the community.
Vacation?
And I'm going to go on vacation sometime when time allows. I will be going on a vacation. I will be in Columbus, Ohio on December 21st.
Sound like a vacation.
That doesn't sound like
I was thinking more like Bahamas or something.
Yep, I'm working on my wife. I owe it to her to take that woman on vacation. She's been very patient with my
Well,
hours.
don't make us the bad guy here, Tyler. Come on.
I can't when it's convenient for my narrative, Mr. Mayor, I do in fact make you the bad guy, but I try to share the wealth. But no, I am looking to plan a vacation. Thank you for bringing that up, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, now that I've done humiliating you, I'll turn this over to Tobin.
Thank you.
I'm just going to use the comment that you made about the positive things that are happening in Hudsonville, people coming around asking you for advice on that. I had a meeting with a business owner at the end of the day today, Granville business owner, who part of the conversation was just stating how impressed he is with what Hudsonville is doing with the attainable homes, affordable housing, attainable housing here in Hudsonville, and wishing that they saw the same thing in Granville.
Thank you for sharing that.
They may have to convert part of that big mall to apartments.
Perhaps.
Dave?
Yeah, thank you, Tyler, for sharing about our meeting regarding the Nature Center. We're still, from the Outdoor Discovery Center perspective, working on that project. And Nate Bosch from our team will actually be just giving an overview to the Planning Commission for the first time next week. I believe he's planning on attending. He's let Sarah know, not a formal meeting, but just to loop that crew in on what's been worked on so far.
Excellent, thank you.
Dave, what kind of hard stops are you looking at for the funding mechanism?
Yeah, so good news with that. We've been able to extend that to match the ARPA timeline. The county agreed to move from the end of 25 to the end of 26, which those dollars are. So we have some flexibility to complete that project now.
Thank you.
And
Anything
then
else?
just wanted to say thank you to the group for talking about the crossing at Chicago Drive. I just appreciate, like you said, Tyler, residents that take their time to let us know what we might not see.
Jeremy?
I totally agree. I also live on the north side of the tracks. That's the right side of the tracks, if I would say so. But the challenge of crossing Chicago Drive is real. I've been there, and yeah, I wish there was a better option, but
There is an option.
I trust that staff is doing everything they can to get us to the finish line on that.
Counselor?
No comments.
Larry?
A couple of things. When I was at Reach, we ride our bikes through there frequently, my wife and I, and so I probably get a little more nasty with drivers that won't stop. Anyway, I also want to, we're continuing to work on the appreciation event, and we're making progress. I believe we're looking at January 24. We have an activity we're going to do, compliments of a wife of an employee of the city, doing a large mural.
That's
So,
January 24th, Terrace
yes.
Square.
Oh, cool.
So that will be fun. It will basically be a 4x10 mural that all the people have an opportunity to participate in painting. It will be basically a paint by number, but a very large mural that we can display somewhere in the city to be determined. So we're looking forward to a great event and a time to show appreciation to those that put in time to help us in the city. And then lastly, just wish you all a very happy and Merry Christmas.
Thank you, Larry. Dan?
Nothing.
Jack?
Nothing.
If you haven't already, please check your email. I sent out 2 emails recently.
Done.
For our payroll?
Yes, and MML CapCon.
MML, CapCon. When is that? March.
Yeah,
So there's no hurry in us replying to you.
right. I mean,
If-
I would prefer to register multiple people at once.
Okay.
But
You got to give us a hard deadline sometimes.
Yeah.
Just so you know. It's
End of the year.
Bunch of cats up here. Anybody left in the audience who'd like to address us? Finally, I just want to say Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to everybody here. Not to get emotional, but we've had an interesting year. There's been a lot of moving parts, not only from the city, but I think a lot of us individually, personally and professionally. I know, Tobin, your business has really taken off. And Dave, your activity at the ODC is notable. We know how busy you are and the value you bring into our community, and you still have time to bring your family to events. Jeremy, you had a baby. Wow. I mean, it's just great. I mean, we're just thrilled you're here and you dedicate time to the commission. And Jessica, you've just been a champ helping us out all this year. And Tyler, I think you got married this year. Is that right?
I got married this year.
Last
Well,
year.
technically last year. But my anniversary is coming up on December 29th.
So, happy anniversary, and make sure you take care of Sarah, and take some time off, please. Larry, I think our lives, maybe your life's been a little more stable, but certainly not mine. Mine's been a little bit more challenging this year, but you've had a great year too, I think. And Dan, new job? How is it going?
Crazy. I mean, yeah, we haven't opened yet, but, a new chapter, very exciting.
Good. We're going up there. And your grandkids are growing and getting big.
outside of my wife, best part of my life. Those two grandkids are just amazing.
And Jack, you've had a tremendous year in your business adventures and a new grandson, right? Is that right?
Over a year.
Is it over a year now? Wow. But you've had a great year, some great vacations, and your son bought a home in the city. Is that right? And so just you've had a really busy year too, and we're just glad that you continue to serve the city. Andrew, you have a new daughter in the house. Great addition, and we look forward to Fern becoming one of our first Sea Cadets in the city of Hudsonville. But incidentally, I am still working on that, and I hope at the next commission meeting to bring a motion to formally establish a charter with the Sea Cadets. And Jill, hats off to you running an impeccable election that was how many elections?
4.
4 elections. Obviously, the last one was probably the most challenging with all the shrillness, but thank you for what you've done for the community and having you represent us. And everybody in the audience, thank you for supporting us. We typically don't run this late, but I think it was a useful meeting. Ladies, hats off to you. I appreciate you being here. Anything else to bring before the commission tonight? Hearing none, all those in favor of adjourning say adjourn. Thank you.